Okay, we're recording. Welcome everybody, and people who are watching later, welcome too. For this session, we're going to go through the complete Shibashi form, all 18 movements, as a bit of a flow. So I'm going to, unusually for me, not say quite so much apart from introduce each movement and do the movement, and you can just follow along. If you are new and you've just come across this video and you've not done any of the Shibashi movements before, you may want to go back in the playlist and just have a bit of a view of some of these movements, which can be quite challenging. But without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to do the first 10 movements sat down, and then I'll do the remaining 8 movements standing up, just to, again, demonstrate standing and seated. So here we go. We should hopefully have it all complete roughly by 7 o'clock. Ready? Off we go. So regardless of the time scale that we have, we want to practice with a sense of unhurriedness, a sense that we've got all the time in the world. So we're just starting off with Chi Shi, lifting, letting the hands settle. You can breathe with the movement as you wish. Just keep the shoulders down. Last one before the next movement, which is open the arms wide, or sometimes it's called open the chest. And down. So just follow along. Enjoy. Keep the hands low, not too high. Again, if you wish to breathe with the movement, feel free to do so. But you may conversely just want to breathe naturally, not worry about the breath. That's okay too. Okay, we're segueing into the third movement, which is embracing rainbows. Hands rise overhead, and then we tilt, whether we're standing or sitting, from one side to the other, looking in the direction to which we tilt. If we're standing, it's a bit of a sway, whereas if we're sitting, yeah, it's more of a tilt from one side to the other. And just work comfortably within a range that suits you. Try not to overdo it. Stay well within a comfortable range. Okay, last one. We bring the hands down, which can feel a relief. And then we're crossing, bringing the hands up for parting the clouds, or as we call it, the fountain. And again, just follow along, crossing the hands in front, and then turning, opening up, just like that. And we're just flowing from one movement to the next. Last one. Okay, first movement with some rotation. I'm turning to my right, and then I'm pushing the right hand forward, and then looking to the left to push that hand forward. And now we just alternate from one side to the other, keeping the hands low, called rolling arms, or from Yang style Tai Chi, repulse the monkey. We're just rotating. follow along. We'll do one more. I happen to be on my left, so don't worry about being in sync. We just finish there. Wonderful. Little shake out. Next movement, rowing the boat. Start small with these hand and arm circles, bringing them up and forwards. As you begin to feel more comfortable, increase the size of those circles. If you're standing up, see if you can flex the knees. I know that's difficult, particularly with a lower limb prosthesis. So I'm suggesting it. We should now be getting to as large or as big a circles as possible for the last couple of turns. Here's the last one for me. Up high as possible and then down. Okay. This is my right hand, and I'm going to cast my cares away to the left. And then my left hand casts my cares away to the right. And I'm simply alternating, looking in the direction of my casting. Or you could think of throwing a ball off to each side. So the right hand goes to the left hand goes to the right. Getting some rotation through the spine and a bit of a stretch in the shoulders. Make this the last one, whichever side you're on. Last one. And now we're gazing at the moon. For this movement, we're looking upwards and slightly backwards if possible, as if the moon was above and behind us. I'm sweeping my hands to the right and up first, and then sweeping my hands to the left and upwards as well. And I'm just sweeping from one side to the other. Again, if you're standing up, and you can do, drop into the legs a little bit, so to speak. See if you can manage that, but I appreciate that is a difficult thing to do. Don't overdo the twist and the turn, because it's quite a big movement. So again, stay within a comfortable range of motion for you. One more on each side. Excellent. Gazing at the moon. Pushing palms. This is where we have the palms facing upwards. It's as if we're holding two soup bowls. We're tipping the right hand and pushing it across to the left. Turning it over, drawing it back. Pushing the left palm across to the right. Turning over, bringing it back. And we simply alternate one side, then the other, crossing in front of the body as we do so. So again, we get a stretch in the shoulder and a bit of a turn in the upper spine and shoulders as well, which can feel rather nice, especially after you've had a day maybe sat down for a long period of time, or you've been working. Just breathe naturally. Look in the direction in which you intend to push. That's a good guide and helps lead the movement as we do so. Looking to each side for each respective push. Let's do one on each side just to finish. Okay. And we get to movement number 10. Cloud hands or wave hands in clouds. I'm starting with my right hand on top, left hand underneath. This is a bit like a dance. I'm leading my partner from one side to the other. Whichever hand is on top, that's the side we sweep our imaginary dance partner to. So if my right hand's on top, I go to the right. If my left hand is on top, I go to the left. And I'm looking again in the direction in which I intend to turn. Before I actually do so, I begin to lead the movement with my head, and that gives you a much more graceful look and feel to the movement by just turning your head. Again, we're getting good rotation in the spine. If you're standing up, the hips and pelvis will be turning somewhat as well. And we're simply going with the flow, so to speak. Okay, let's do 2 more, one on each side, and then come back to the center. Here we come, back to the center, and down. Excellent. So there's 10 movements in roughly 10 minutes or so. And now I'm going to stand up, as I said, for the next remaining movements. Okay, so movement number 11. This is where we move into a set of 3 movements, which are quite big, quite expansive. Again, we can do these seated or standing. As I said, do check back previous videos if you want more details on these movements. But for now, we want our right leg off and forward to the diagonal on the right hand side. Again, whether we're seated or standing, I'm leaning forward a little bit, scooping up the C, and then I'm going to lean back and cast it up into the sky in a rather dramatic fashion. Lean forward again and lean back. Start gradually, build your way into the movement, feel your way. These are all Tai Chi concepts of taking your time to get a sense and a feel for what's going on. And as you feel more confident with the movement, you can get more expansive or expressive with that movement. Okay, last one on this right side. Clearly, we now need to do the left side. So this is my left foot going forwards. I'm adjusting my stance. Again, same for those of you who are seated. And then once again, starting small at first, getting a feel for your balance and how your back feels. And just begin working your way into the movement. And as you do so, and you feel more confident, you can begin to make those movements bigger and more expansive as you go. Again, you can breathe with the movement or just breathe comfortably as you wish. Last one on this side. Okay. Second movement in this little subset. Okay, so movement number 12. And we're pushing waves. So once again, right leg is going forwards here with a step, or whether you're seated. This time the hands are pushing and making waves. Push. Lift the hands clear, roll back, push a second wave. Once again, starting gradually, building up as you go. If you feel comfortable, if you're standing up with me, you can lift the back heel for a bigger push and then roll back and lift the front toes. Bit of a challenge, especially if you're wearing a prosthesis like me. So go steady, look after your balance. Keep the feet flat on the ground if that's much better for you. Call it a rock and roll step because we're rolling through the feet. And it's really good. It gets the circulation going. Make that the last one. You're probably feeling it a little bit. They're quite challenging movements. Left leg this time, whether seated or standing, forwards and on that diagonal. Same thing, start off small. Figure out where you feel balanced. Stay within a comfortable range at first. And then slowly build it up. And if you want to build that rock and roll step in, if it's possible, do so. But don't worry if it's not. Again, the to and fro of the movement suffices. Soft hands as you lift the fingers clear of the water. Okay, last one. Quite a bit of work. Third movement in this little subset, and it's movement number 13 in the complete set. Flying dove spreads its wings. I just need to move myself a little away from my plant. You need to do the same here if you've got items around you within this spread of your hands. Once again, we're getting that right leg forward, but this time we're spreading our imaginary wings wide and then pushing forwards again, closing, opening. Just like before, start gradually. Keep everything balanced. If you feel confident, you can do that rock and roll step, lifting the back heel, lifting the toes, leaning back a bit further, even looking up to the sky. But those add an added element of challenge. So again, work within a range that suits you as we go to and fro. Okay, last one on this side, because I would imagine if my arms are aching, your arms are aching. So let's do the left leg for the final time with white dove spreads its wings. Here we go. Rolling. Backwards and forwards. Ebbing and flowing with the movement. If you wish to lean back a bit, look up, do so, but look after your balance. It's quite tricky. Okay, last one. Here we go. Whoa. We've earned ourselves a reprieve, and we get it in the form of our next movement, number 14, simply called punching. Starting, hands just into the side if I turn, like so. Pick a hand, doesn't matter which one. Spiral it out and turn the hand over, keeping it in a loose fist, and then spiral it smoothly back. Then do the opposite hand, spiral, out and back. If I turn to the side, you can see each hand turning over and then spiraling back, like so. We can let the shoulders roll a little bit as we do so, alternating. So give yourself a chance to just enjoy this movement after all of that work that you did in the previous 3 movements. Try to aim for a smooth spiral from start to finish. It's actually a bit more tricky than it looks. Sometimes we find that people get the turn of a hand all done at once at the beginning, or they do it all at the once, all at the end. But there's nothing happening in the travel from one extreme to the other. I'd like you to try to just have this smooth spiral all the way out and then a smooth spiral all the way back in. Much more tricky to coordinate. I think our brains would much prefer to get that movement done all in one go and not have to think about this smooth spiral. So it's a movement that actually deserves some time despite its apparent simplicity when we first encounter it. Okay, last one. Bring the hand back, punching. Okay, 4 more movements. So next movement is flying goose or the wild geese. Lovely a movement, this one. We start with the hands just in front of the hips and we start to take flight. Very soft fingers. Again, if you can drop into the knees a bit, so much the better. But again, if it's too much of a challenge, that's okay. These are only suggestions and we're just taking flight. Try to have very soft fingertips that feel the air as if you were a goose flying with those primary wing feathers and the tips in the air. Every now and again you can go for a big wing beat and take the hands up overhead. I know my hands have disappeared, but here they come again as well. Really nice movement. Again, surprisingly difficult to get that smoothness. So again, it's a very good movement. If you really feel in your fingertips, you can feel the coolness in the fingertips as they drop down through the column of air. And then the backs of the fingertips cool as we lift them. That really gives you a good feel. We're going to have to move on though, so make this your last wing beat. Flying goose. Okay, perhaps the most challenging movement we have in the set is the spinning wheel or the wheel of life. We'll start off with the easy version, which is to hold an imaginary ball. My hands are going to disappear. I'm turning my hips if I'm standing up. If you're sat down, turn the waist and just imagine that you carry that ball in a big circle around you. We'll go 3 times in one direction. Doesn't matter which direction you set off with. This is the 3rd revolution. Coming up to the top, just like a fairground ride, it hovers at the top and then we go back the other way. And we're just utilizing the hands and the arms. The head turns in the direction, the hips as well, but we're not moving the trunk of the body that much. Come to a rest. Okay, so that's version 1. That helps look after those people like me who get dizziness or prone to vertigo when you start moving your head. And it's also a bit more protective of the spine for those people who might have a diagnosis of osteoporosis. But I'm going to show you the full version. Again, this is optional. If you want to stick with what we've just done, please do so. I'd rather you not try to do the full version if it's going to challenge your balance or challenge you in those other ways. Once again, I'm starting with the hands up. And then this time I'm allowing the trunk to follow the movement of the arms. So I can literally hinge at the hips, flex the spine, and go with the movement. But it's a big, challenging movement to do, especially on a lower limb prosthesis. Now we're going back the other way. But boy, you can probably feel the muscles in your torso and in your hips and in your legs working overtime to control all of that movement. Here we go. Last one up to the top. Wow. And back. We know, sorry, let me do the mic. Excuse me. We know, don't we? If we wear a prosthetic limb, they're heavy. If we've got intact limbs, we don't know the weight of these things. But again, with arms overhead sweeping around, plus the head, plus the torso, that's a lot of mass to manage and control. So that's why we need to be a little bit mindful of that movement. Okay, penultimate movement, bouncing the ball. Again, seated or standing. We'll start off with hands, then we'll get some weight shift, and then we'll see if we can go for a bit of a balance as well. This is my right hand, bounce. Then my left hand, bounce. If you want to think of a kettle drum, and the hands are hitting a kettle drum, do that. Bounce, bounce. Okay, we're going to just come to a rest here. This is my left hand. So on the next bounce, I'm going to shift my weight across to the left and catch my balance with the right ball of the foot. So I'm going to go bounce and bounce. So I'm now shifting weight, catching my balance. If you sat down, you might want to lift your heels if you can. So that's the second progression of this movement. That might be challenging enough. Some of you might feel confident enough, if you watch my right leg, to lift and bounce, then down. So if that's possible without you really disrupting your balance, you can actually go for a full leg lift. But only if you feel confident. It's okay to just keep the toes touching just to make sure, or even just a shift of weight is good enough as we go. Let's do one more on each side. I'll do one more leg lift. Boom. And down. Bounce the ball. And that leads us very nicely to our 18th movement, our closing movement. Gather Earth's energy, sometimes it's just called the closing movement. And just bringing the hands forward, up, drawing in, and then lightly pressing down. And then once again, forwards, up, just like that. Again, you may wish to breathe in, breathe out as we go. Or just breathe nice and naturally and just focus on the movement. Let's do a couple more. Last one, just to bring things to a close. There you have it. Shibashi complete as promised in roughly a whole half hour. There's a reasonably nice flow from one movement to the other. There's a little bit of a break as I chatted a little bit, but you get the idea. I hope you've enjoyed this journey into Shibashi in this first part of these videos and live sessions for limb power. We're going to be moving on over the next sessions into some other movements and other movement challenges, all based on Tai Chi and Qigong. A date for your diaries. I'll put this in the WhatsApp group later, but a date for your diaries is for the 30th of March, which is a Thursday, where there'll be no live class because I'm taking a bit of a break. Just a short one, but hoping to get some sunshine somewhere. So just make a note. I will put it in the WhatsApp group as well, but I'm popping it here as well for people who may watch later. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording. For those of you with me now live, if you have any questions or comments, I'll hang around. But if you are heading off, I will wish you well. And I wish all those people who have been watching the recording well as well. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Phil. Night, everyone.